Thank you. Thank you. Hello, dear Refresh visitors. We are Antonina and Brett. We do design at Katana. And Katana is developing manufacturing software that is being used by small and medium manufacturers across the world. They use it to manage their business, and Katana also holds their business critical data. They need that product to make decisions about how to move forward. In addition to that, as manufacturing softwares, quite complex, so the software has many different types of users. That includes manufacturing, sales, purchasing, warehouse managers, as well as accountants and business owners themselves, and actually many more. The product holds a lot of data. It's very data heavy, and it also has complex data structures, and additionally, a lot of UI. And among Katana's product strategy, the core pillars are ease of use and self-onboardability. That means that design is integral to Katana's product development, and designers are a part of developing every new feature. As a young product that we are, Katana's only 5 years old, we have been building the product through MVPs and also creating a lot of UX steps on the go. So back in 2021 autumn, our CPO tasked us to come up with a list of improvements that would make our user experience better. And so the design team, who had just hired their third product designer at that time, went on a quest. So we went to discover, what are the main things that we can improve so that our product's usability would become better. So we started with an audit, and as designers, naturally, we already see a lot of places for improvement. And in this research, we time-boxed it to 8 hours just to keep our sanity. And we were looking all across the product. And we decided that we're going to look improvements in 7 different categories. Those are accessibility, aesthetics, information architecture, interactions, language and text, layout and visual hierarchy, and safety. So our goal was to see if we're lacking in any of those categories, and we should focus on it first. So we used our designers' intuition and gut feeling, and we evaluated our product in those 7 categories, plus a little other to kind of make that diagram a little bit easier. And being self-critical, we kind of thought that we're in the orange or red zone in pretty much all of these categories. So we couldn't find the one area of improvement, and we started looking at all of the things that we listed down on a scale of impact versus effort. So are there any low-hanging fruits that we could fix immediately that would improve our usability? Unfortunately, as you can see yourself, that wasn't the case. There are a few, but we can't come up with a specific list. So here, dear product team, we improved this, and the usability is much better. So we sat down with our product design team lead, Yanis, and started thinking of what to do. All right, we have these improvements. How do we make sense of them? And how do we improve our design? And looking back, it's quite obvious. But for us, the eureka moment was when we realized that we're not looking at a list of one-off improvements. Those improvements need to be done continuously. That means that it's not a one thing that we fix. It's a design roadmap. So we need to do improvements continuously in order to improve our usability, eliminate or keep under control our UX depth, and to kind of, follow the core product strategy. And so that's what we did. We came up with a process. We came up with a process of proposing design improvements quarterly. On that slide, you should see 5 little rectangles that the design team is proposing, and then we go to the product managers and discuss, what makes sense to do, and we come up with 3 rectangles on the design roadmap that are missing from this slide. So yes, and we decide collectively what makes sense to do. It's based on what the teams are currently working on, what makes sense business-wise, and also what future features will be developed upon. So our goal was to for design to become proactive in product development, as we've been quite reactive. We built a bunch of MVPs, we cut corners, we see that, okay, our usability is not so good here, but we'll fix it later. And we also wanted to have the right tools to look at our design on the global level, not just every designer in their own product area. So what it looks like for a designer. As we come up with the design roadmap, it's decided together with the product team, we split these roadmap items between designers so that each improvement has a clear owner. The designer then starts to work on the concept. They'll present their work at our weekly design meetings, gathering feedback from peers. They'll also get the input from product managers and engineers when necessary. And once they're ready with the concept, they move on to design grooming. In design grooming, product managers and product marketers participate, and they give final feedback on the concept. And once the improvement passes design grooming, it moves on to engineering groomings with every team that is involved in making that improvement. So the designer goes to every engineering team, explains the context, engineers can ask questions, and we make sure that we cover all the edge cases as well. And we mapped this process out quite in detail, a lot of documentation on Confluence, but we also held several sessions with the product managers to say, this is what we want to do, this is our goal, and to get their perspective and to get them to commit. And another important aspect is that we set up the tooling to support that process. So to make sure that when we have items on the design roadmap, that the roadmap items consist of epics and tasks, that these epics and tasks make it to the right boards of the right teams, and that those tasks wouldn't fall in between the cracks of backlogs. So far, we have worked on 6 improvements. It's not a very old process, yet not very new. 6 might not seem like a big number. However, these 6 improvements have involved a lot of design work, and we have worked with global improvements across the product. Now, our product is really UI heavy, and that means that a lot of different perspective and knowledge needs to be taken into account. It's not only about making that improvement, but it's looking at our product together with the design team as a whole and to understand where we're lacking in our guidelines and in our design library. We are building the patterns that our future design needs to be built on. We're looking at where our product's design wants to go to. Now, this has been a description of process, and Antonina is here today with me so that it wouldn't just stay as a brief description of a process. She will talk about a specific improvement that we made. It's a case study.
Thank you. I'm product designer in Katana, and it means that I'm a user of the processes which Brett described, and I will tell you how it works in real life. For that, I will tell you a story about how we redesigned bulk actions across Katana and how established processes helped me to change prioritization at first on design roadmap according to my team needs, and then design map spread those changes to roadmap on other teams. Story started almost a year ago when I just joined Katana. I was quite fresh, like 2-3 months on board, and I joined purchasing team. A purchasing team responsible for all buying in manufacturing, buying of materials and services. And in my roadmap, there were a few features connected with bulk actions. We need to add delete additional export options and printing to a list of all purchasing orders. I thought it's easy because we had bulk actions all over Katana on every page. So I just need to go over, understand how it works, and bring it to purchasing. But turned to be that it wasn't so easy. I was aware that bulk actions were part of our design roadmap, but it wasn't like on a high priority, somewhere in the middle. And why it was on the roadmap? Well, here should play video. I hope it will play. Let's see. Will it? Oh no. Can we make video play somehow? Well, if we can't, I will have to describe it. Okay, now it plays. Thank you very much. This was one pattern on Katana. It was a very old one. When you select something and have huge menu which appears in the middle of nowhere. That was a newer one. You again select something, and then you have a menu with a name bulk actions. And under this menu can be absolutely anything. And there was an export button which appeared in very different places, and it also looked different. At some places it was a huge gray button, in some places it was a blue button with an icon, and in some places it was just inside the export menu, inside bulk actions menu. Okay, I had a lot of questions at this point, but also we can notice, okay, now I can't switch the slide. Can we get out of this loop somehow? Probably. No. Okay, yeah. And we can also notice that it was a little bit weird and didn't follow best practices, which we know from a lot of different applications. What I mean by best practices in this case, when I want to do something in bulk, I select objects, but my goal is not find bulk menu or bulk actions. My goal is complete something. For example, delete. I want to select objects and then delete. I want to select objects and then export them. Well, later I found a couple of examples where actually in software was mentioned bulk actions, but so far, by that moment, Katana was the first example in my life, and I have about 10 years of experience with UX design when I saw bulk actions as a bulk actions. With all these questions, I came to our design meeting. As Brett mentioned, every week we have design meetings where we discuss all topics like that with other designers. I drew a small initial concept. Mostly it was connected with my features, which was needed for purchasing team. And I showed it to other designers. They were very kind to me. They appreciated my concept, but they also pointed out that I skipped a lot of things which existing or going to appear soon in Katana. So we had a very good constructive discussion. And after that, I went on the deep analysis of existing and coming features. On this analysis, I got a really huge help from our first designer in Katana, Anna. She knows absolutely everything. and she helped me to put together the list of analysis. So we had a really good collaboration. You can see like a small piece of this scheme behind the process, but actually it was a huge Figma board on which we put together all existing functionality, or all upcoming functionality someday, and also features which can be bring up to bulk or close to bulk. Basically any features connected with lists. We marked what things are matching, what are not matching, what is unique for every specific step, so it was a huge thing. After that, we changed my concept, improved it, so it would cover a lot of different situations and also unlock for us space for future improvements. And with that, we came to design grooming. On design grooming, we needed to convince product managers that we really need this change now. And why we needed it now? Because if we would implement bulk actions to purchasing team, we would basically bring something new in existing many patterns which we already had in Katana. It would increase in consistency, and we would have to redo at some point when our design roadmap would bring bulk action supper. Then we still have to redo everything. Doesn't sound very reasonable. So we used few arguments that, first of all, we unlock a lot of opportunities for new upcoming features with lists. We remove inconsistencies. It was one of the things which I really wanted to achieve with that, because if user need to do the same thing on different pages, the thing should be on the same place. User should be able to find it with closed eyes, and it wasn't exactly like that. And we wanted very badly to make it a global component, because global component would allow us in the future to make changes without any, with much lower effort than it was needed initially. And they believed us. they allowed us to bring this change up to design roadmap, which of course influenced on our purchasing roadmap, and as a result it influenced on all other roadmaps, because if we implement it in the one page, we need to implement it all over Katana in a reasonable period of time. And so how many people you think do you need to redesign bulk actions? It doesn't sound like a big change, but yeah, we had me as a designer who drew the concept. Anna joined me on analysis phases. Then we had our master of design system, Dana, who helped us to build it the way that it will become global component. And we had a developer from purchasing team who implemented it on a global level. And that wasn't all, because after we did all those, it was a preparation step. And then we need to deliver it to every team. And every team had its own specific. And when I started to prepare designs for every team and specific usage of those components on every team, I figured out that there are a lot of small inconsistencies on connected functionality, writing, etc. So I had to ask help of our copywriters. And we collaborated with product manager and designer of every team. So a lot of people you need to redesign bulk actions. And then it comes to implementation, and because even though component was implemented on a global level, designer proposed improvements for each team, but team made a final decision on the scope, what exactly they would like to change in connection with those bulk actions. We had also engineering grooming. Well, both designers were presented, designer like me as designer of the concept and designer of every team. And then later engineers knew that they can turn to both designers. And last and not least, when you do changes in a big software where with which users interact every day, all users have habits. Even if something was super uncomfortable and annoying, they already used to it. So if you bring some change, you need to communicate it. And here our marketing team helped us a lot, because they have a tool which they use to communicate with customers. It's Intercom. We used intercom to, when we brought bulk actions on every page, we just used intercom to highlight those new bulk actions, which we started to call toolbar, because it's now more like a toolbar, and notify them that, hey, now you can find the functions which you used to have here, but you also have some new stuff. It was actually very interesting for me that after we release bulk actions, I observed how users use those functionality using full story. This is a program which allows us to collect statistic on usage and see records on how people using interface. And I saw that at first usage of few bulk actions went up. At some point it started going down. So I connected exactly with those tutorial. It means that probably before that users wasn't even aware about some functions. When they learned about that, they start trying it, using it for a while, and then it started dropping back to normal. That's my assumption. And so what we had as a result, global component, which is very easy to update. So after I will finish my observations in full story quite soon, and let's say I would come to the conclusion that some things doesn't work exactly as I expected, and I would like, I don't know, make icons bigger because I see a lot of misclicks, or make them change the color or something like that. It will be easy to do all over the Katana. I won't need to go through all this process again. I have a lot of place for quick actions with data grid. And it also simplifies for us developing for few upcoming features. So we don't need to think where to put it because we have place for it. And we cleaned up navigation panel from the functions which were like export, which was there before, and brought it to the more logical place. And so it also unlocks space for things which are connected with all the page. And could I do it if we wouldn't have process established? Like, I was a designer who just joined Katana 2 months, and if I would work alone and just try to redesign bulk actions without going and talking to other designers, developers, product managers, I don't think so. So process enables us to make global design improvements without unnecessary confusion, and as well as be quicker and leverage the team's knowledge of complex product. Thank you. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you. So, any questions from the audience? Very information-heavy one here. Definitely have questions.
Oh, thank you. My question is, how much did you need to compromise after grooming with engineers to change the design? And
Engineering grooming. Well, I usually try to involve engineers on very early stage. So by the moment when we go to engineering grooming, we actually, they are aware what we are building. They give me input on what's possible, what's not possible. We had like a lot of technical discussions, and usually on the grooming we just thinking about splitting, how exactly we want to split it, or kind of re-agree on splitting which was done before. So I can't say that on engineering grooming we compromise a lot, but before that we had kind of, yeah, it happens that I want to build one thing, but we realize that technically it would be super hard, so we have to find some compromise solution. But that's part of the process of designing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? One in the first row.
So maybe a bit longer question. So when you are building a new features, and does it happen that developers create new components that are not gone through this process? And how do you handle it? I mean, if it would go through this process, maybe they won't finish it in time because you don't have enough design power.
The short answer, I guess, is no, because we have a product design team. So by now we have 7 designers, and we also have a design systems lead. So design systems, with this process, we are always proactively looking at, what we're building and what we will be building soon. And which means that any of our designers can bring those initiatives on board. Sometimes the designers solve them, but we have a design system lead in place as well, who's monitoring whether the components are up to date, whether they follow our patterns, and so on. So the short answer is no. We're trying to be very proactive as the product's really UI heavy, which means that we can't let this go out of hand. It will be very difficult for us to fix additional UX step to what we have today.
Follow-up question then. What's your ratio of designers to developers?
Something like one designer per 10 developer, approximately. So we have about 60 developers, plus minus, and 7 designers.
Yeah. But some of the teams are very technical when we're talking about API and integrations teams. So they involve design less than usual product teams.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions?
Hi. I wanted to ask, as you have customers from different areas, how do you design the flows for them? Because I assume that their flows are quite different also.
Oh, that's an awesome question. That's part of our product work, and yes, we have very different types of users, and it's more that they are from different industries, and in different industries, different types of users will behave differently. So we try to map different possible flows and make Katana flexible and comfortable for most of the flows. And it's not an easy work. We constantly talk to our users. We're all the time in contact with them and trying to understand what things work for them, what don't work, for whom it works, for whom it don't work, and how we can improve it.
Yes, I would also say that user research and understanding manufacturing in general is the key here. So that's what we put a lot of focus on. So, generative research before we start building new features and understanding how, one change in one area of the product will affect the other areas.
Thank you. Any short questions maybe? Last short one from the audience.
10 seconds.
All right, if there's no questions, thank you.
Thank you.